So this video is for anybody that is struggling with feeling ashamed about the feelings that they're having in regards to your mental health. I just wanted to put a little message out there, really, to just say it's okay to be struggling with feeling that way. You know, mental illness often lives in shame and silence, because people generally feel ashamed of how they're feeling. They don't want to admit how they're feeling. We're worried about how other people are going to perceive us, whether people's opinions of us is going to change. And I think that's a pretty widespread thing, and it takes a long time of processing your feelings and going through your own mental health journey to actually come to a place where you're more accepting of that. So it doesn't need to be an instant thing, but it's something that is more than possible to work towards, and one day you will be able to, you know, feel better about things and accept it, and even speak about it if that's not something that you're able to do right now. I know within the mental health communities on Twitter and social media, there's a lot of people, including myself, that speak very openly, and I think that can be quite daunting for the people who can't do that or aren't in a place to do that, maybe feeling you know, I'm not as strong as them, or I'm not as brave as them. Why can't I talk about it that way? I couldn't talk about it that way to begin with. You know, my own mental health lived in silence for a long time. My self-harm lived in silence because I was ashamed of it, and I was ashamed of the feelings that went behind that. My anorexia lived in silence for a long time because I was ashamed of that and the feelings that went behind that. And even later down the line, when I'd kind of got to grips with those things a bit, and then I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I was at a place where I felt more able to talk about the depression side of things, because that's something that had been going on since I was about 14. But the mania side of things was my huge sticking point. So even though I was quite open about talking about how I felt in regards to depression, feeling suicidal, talking about this new thing, mania, and the psychotic features that I'd experienced alongside that, was extremely difficult for me, and something that I really, it's probably only the last 12 months, maybe a little bit longer, that I have been able to speak about that. And the more I've spoken about that, the more I've accepted it, and actually it doesn't bother me that much talking about it anymore, to some degree. It depends who it is. Weirdly, it's harder if it's within a close circle of people that are close in your life, because there's still that worry of how they're going to perceive me, but that's totally natural. But it took me a long time, and these things do, you know, live in silence a lot because people are ashamed. And I just want to say that you don't need to feel ashamed of these feelings. You wouldn't feel ashamed if you broke your leg. You wouldn't feel ashamed if you got the flu. It might be hard to accept, because it might stop you from doing things that you had planned or things that you want to do. But on the whole, you kind of accept that there's not a lot you can do about it, and you just kind of have to relax and recover. And mental health issues are no different. I know it doesn't feel like that sometimes. It doesn't feel the same, and I know it's easy for people to relate it to those things, but when you're actually going through it, it feels a lot different. So that's quite hard to accept as well sometimes, but it is totally normal to be feeling like this if you're feeling very ashamed, unsure, not able to speak about it. And the first steps to speaking about it, really, it's difficult. It's really difficult, I'm not gonna lie. You know, if you've not told anybody about anything yet, doing that is really hard, and it takes a lot of courage. And basically you just have to take a leap of faith. Either that, or in my case, people just find out, and then you're just kind of dumped in the middle of it trying to explain what's going on. But you get through that. It's just a moment. It's one moment of telling somebody, it's one moment of people finding out, the conversations that go around that. I'm not saying that those conversations in every case are going to be easy. I'm not saying in every case they're even going to be supportive, as mine weren't. But you get through it. And that's the first step of accepting it and feeling less ashamed about it, because you've spoken about it. And it might not feel like you're any further forward by doing that, but you are. And from then on in, it's just a gradual process of acceptance, really. And the more you go through that process, the easier it does get. It really, really does. It doesn't feel like it. It can feel like the end of the world, but it really, really does get easier as you go along. And the same as anything in this world, you know, the more you do something, the easier it gets. The more you accept something, the more it becomes the norm. The more you speak about something, the easier it is to speak about, and the more you speak about it, the more you accept it. And so it's like this cycle. So if you're feeling at the moment like that's not you, you're never going to be able to do that, you can't tell anybody, you're never going to be able to speak about it openly, you're far too ashamed about how you feel, and you just feel completely on your own with it, I just wanted to say that you're not. You're absolutely not. And I can guarantee that pretty much anybody that you speak to with a mental illness will have felt this way at some point, if not currently. So you're not on your own with it. So just keep going. And if you haven't told anybody yet how you're feeling, then take the first step. Just take that leap of faith, because it really is the start of that journey of recovery and acceptance, or it was for me anyway, and a lot of people that I've spoken to. So it's really worth just taking the leap of faith and just doing it, and little by little you'll see that things do start to change, and you can do it.